Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In this week's video we are here at Wroxeter Roman City. During the 3rd century, when Britain was part of the once powerful Roman Empire, this was one of the largest cities throughout the country. From tradespeople to trendsetters, Wroxeter was a thriving metropolis of power, politics and pampering. So join us and let's explore Roman Britain. Wroxeter's Roman name was Viroconium, home to over 15,000 people. The site is located near the town of Shrewsbury in the Shropshire area. The settlement may have continued to be used right up until the 7th or the 8th century AD, long after the Romans had left and when the Anglo-Saxons would have arrived. Nestling halfway between the medieval town of Shrewsbury and the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution at Ironbridge lies Viroconium, one of the 4th largest cities in Roman Britain, while its 3 greater companions, Londinium, Cirencester and St Albans, have all undergone considerable further development in the following ages to yield a combination of historical overlays. Viroconium was simply abandoned sometime in the 5th or the 6th century. With Wroxeter being the 4th largest city in Roman Britain, the importance is reflected in the remains of the city. The site was lost for centuries before it was rediscovered in the Victorian period. Such was the public interest in the subsequent excavation at Wroxeter that the landowner donated the site to the public, making it one of the very first archaeological sites in Britain to become a tourist attraction which is regularly open to visitors. Viroconium began as a legionary fort, a settlement which grew up around the fort and became a thriving city of great importance, numbering in excess of 15,000 citizens at its height. Most of the population that swelled this new city came from the ranks of retired legionaries and tradesmen. Whilst we wander the skeleton remains of the ruins, I was quite interested to see around the heart of the city, which was once where the market hall stands proudly in the centre. Between the area of the Baths Basilica and the market hall, which is the area that we're looking at now, there were 2 large square rooms with central piers, facing out from behind a portico onto Roman Watling Street. These rooms had open fronts, which could be closed with shutters held in place by the large stones that are still visible. These types of frontages do indicate that there would have been shops or bars. Separating the shops and the market was a wide corridor that gave access from the street to the baths, outdoor exercise area and a pool. Originally, the market would have had many small rooms constructed around its own colonnaded courtyard. It was within these buildings that merchants would display an arrange of goods for sale, from fresh produce and fine textiles to intricately crafted pottery and precious metals. Everything was made with love and care, and it was their lifeline to live in Roman Britain. The air would be filled with the aroma of spices and the lively chatter of haggling vendors, as locals and travellers alike gather to exchange their goods and share stories. But not all of Wroxeter's residents had access to cooking facilities at home. Normally, after bathing, those not hosting or being invited to attend an evening meal at a townhouse would meet their friends and enjoy a night of eating, drinking and playing games. It was a huge part of Roman life, sharing and enjoying dining experiences for the feeling of community within the city. The shops were very lively places, usually filled with the sounds of clattering of plates and cups, drunken chatter and cheers of victory upon somebody winning a game of dice. The most impressive remains to view include the public baths. These date from around the 2nd century and stand behind a large exercise hall. After the Roman influence diminished, the site became the headquarters of a British or Irish chieftain. Unlike many other Roman cities, Wroxeter was not redeveloped as a Saxon or a medieval centre, with the result that we can more easily see the Roman layout of the city. Some aerial photographs have also revealed the existence of a Romano-British temple. Stones from Viroconium were used in the construction of Wroxeter Parish Church, which is a short distance away. Usually visitors to the bath complex would exercise in the Basilica to build up a sweat before bathing, although the Basilica did have other functions too. Here at Wroxeter, the baths lay at right angles to the Basilica, which created an L-shaped layout. The baths had a series of rooms, progressing from unheated to very hot, with the hot rooms either quite humid, similar to Turkish baths, or dry, which were similar to a sauna. Bathers would move from a cool to warm, to hot, to then be back in warm and cool. But these baths didn't just offer bathing, which reflected in their wider social purpose. Most of the bathing complexes also had food stalls, facing outwards onto the streets, placed specifically around the baths to cater for passers-by and for bathers alike. Beauty can often mean pain, and it certainly did for the Romans. They were a people devoted to communal bathing, with many of its citizens attending the baths daily. And when they did, they would bring their own personal cleaning sets, complete with ear scoops, nail cleaners and tweezers. Said tweezers, however, were not only used to remove eyebrow hair, but all unwanted body hair. Following the fashions in Rome and to distinguish themselves from barbarians, Roman Britons preferred a clean-shaven appearance, but hair plucking, which often was performed by their slaves, was a painful business. At Wroxeter alone, they have discovered over 50 pairs of tweezers, one of the largest collections of this item in Britain, indicating that it was a very popular accessory. The advantage of the tweezer was that it was safe, simple and cheap, but unfortunately not pain-free. The baths themselves, which could accommodate over 1,000 users at a time, were first cleared in 1859 and then subsequently excavated between 1955 and 1985. Many of the original features can still be seen, such as the stone doorway into the warm room, the remains of the furnace that once heated the dry room, and the twin rows of columns making up the central colonnade which ran between the different sections of the building. With the majority of its 200-acre site still awaiting excavation, Viroconium already boasts one of the largest surviving sections of a Roman wall in Britain, together with extensive remains of the city's baths and hypocaust, making it a uniquely important site in Britain. Excavation of the Basilica, of which the old work formed part of the south wall, was begun in 1966 and ending in 1990, by which time a well-worn sandstone floor had been revealed at the west portico entrance, together with a collapsed mosaic and the damaged floor of the cold room. The site also boasts a large hall, which was believed to have been used for sporting or social activities, and the remains of the hypocaust heating system. The last and greatest phase of expansion began early in the 2nd century and was to continue for much of the next 80 years, whilst the Emperor Hadrian is most readily associated with the construction of the famous Northern Wall which bears his name. It was during this same period that Viroconium was enlarged further to become a truly significant city. This saw the construction of a new civic centre, together with a basilica and a bathhouse, part of which remains today as the Old Work, is one of Britain's largest sections of freestanding Roman masonry that is still in existence. By the end of the 2nd century, and with the construction of many more houses, colonnades and other fine buildings, Viroconium had grown to become Roman Britain's 4th largest city. Today, it really is difficult to imagine the scale of this, with only a very small part of the ancient site exposed to view. But then the newly constructed ditch and ramparts which enclosed the city extended for over 2 miles. The fortunes of Viroconium, however, were set to change as the events of the 3rd and 4th centuries played out in a period marked by contrasting turbulence and prosperity. The influx of goods from the rest of the Roman Empire, coupled with the open extension of citizenship, had given Britain a very different character from the newly conquered province which had originally given rise to the settlement. The 4th century in particular was to be a period of unrivalled prosperity, with many moneyed settlers moving to Britain from less secure parts of the empire, such as the Rhineland. Although none of the numerous accounts offered for this unmatched increase in the Roman British economy really explains the phenomenon completely, the golden age of the villa was a real enough event, particularly in the opulent buildings of southern England. However, late in the 3rd century was also a period of mounting unrest within the Roman Empire as inflation soared, civic regulation grew and the bureaucratic interference became widespread. In addition, although Britain herself was largely unaffected, many regions suffered repeated incursions from barbarian tribes. It was around AD 408 when the last of the legions were withdrawn, and now defensiveless Britain effectively ceased to be part of the Roman Empire and was left to face the Saxon threat alone. Across the road from the excavations is the Roman townhouse. It was a reconstructed high-status Roman townhouse and was built in 2010 as part of a TV project with Channel 4. The design of the house was inspired by an actual building which was excavated at the site and built using Roman construction techniques. The house stands on a platform that projects the important archaeological remains of Wroxeter's Forum, which lies underneath. Houses like this recreation show just how comfortable life could be in the south of Roman Britain in around 320 AD. Separate from the domestic rooms in the northeast corner of the building is a shop that possibly could have been let out by the owner or operated on their behalf. In one of the rooms here you can see what it may have looked like. Townhouse owners often rented out parts of their house to tenants who could use this space to sell their goods. The shops would occupy the front portion of many houses that face out onto the street. They would sell things like pottery and fresh veg, furs and even fast food such as ready cooked meats. Inside this house complex, the room with the bull's head mosaic is both a reception and a dining room. The central roundel of the mosaic faces to the back of the room, where the owner of the house and some of the most important guests would have reclined during meals. There was ample heating for the bath suite, provided by a furnace on the west side, and typically hot air would circulate underneath the floor and up the walls of the hot and warm room, with a cold bath in the third room. When you visit Wroxeter, make sure you either start your journey or make time to look at the incredible artefacts in their museum. You'll find the museum where you start your explore at the ticket office. As well as an abundance of information boards and drawings, there are over 400 artefacts that could be seen inside, including ancient hygiene products such as the tweezers that I mentioned earlier. Some other objects related to Roman cleanliness and beauty practices as well include a strigil, perfume bottles, jet and bone jewellery and makeup applicators. As well as hygiene objects, there are also other relics that include figurines of deities, a Roman water pipe which would have served the bathhouse, and poignant amulets relating to the health of women and fertility. These objects discovered here at Wroxeter show the rich daily experience of the people who once lived there, from their business enterprises to their vibrant social lives. So that's it for this week, and we really hope that you've enjoyed our visit to Wroxeter Roman City as much as we have, being able to delve back into the Roman times. If you did, please be sure to hit that like. Click the subscribe and notification bell to never miss another video, and consider joining us here on the channel as pinned members. There are other ways to help us and continue supporting our journeys by having a look in our description box to links to our Patreon and how to join here on YouTube. I want to say a big thank you to all of our channel members and our Patreons. Thank you all very much for joining us today. So we'll see you on the next one. Till next time.